Well, hey there, my friends. Today, we're going to be talking about the Tyrant from the Resident Evil series. Now, the Tyrant is a term used by the Umbrella Corporation to refer to a series of humans procedurally mutated by the T-virus or cloned from the former as part of the Tyrant Project. The purpose of the Tyrant Project was to create a next-generation BOW, heavily benefiting from the progenitor mutagen traits as well as preserving enough intelligence to function completely as infantry on the battlefield. Now, following Umbrella's collapse, the Tyrant research was continued by a third-party organization. Now, what we're going to be getting into today is the development of the T-virus and things like that, because there is a lot of T-virus strains and all that stuff. But let's get into it here. Now, in 1960s, Dr. Oswald E. Spencer and Dr. James Marcus and his student Brandon Bailey discovered the progenitor virus in West Africa. The progenitor virus possessed, mutagen characteristics which would drastically alter the physical and mental makeup of its host. It was soon discovered that naturally occurring progenitor strands were too aggressive for modern humans to survive infection. So the Umbrella, Pharmaceuticals' dream of creating a new race of superhumans was put in jeopardy. Now, as a workaround, less aggressive but weaker strains of the virus called Tyrant or T-virus were created and produced, mutated animals to be sold to the U.S. military. This was to raise money to create a perfected progenitor strain to complete the project now dubbed the Wesker Project. Earlier versions of the T-virus were not wholly reliable, and in the 1980s, some 10% of humans were projected to be immune. Improvements led to the accidental creation of the T-001 somewhere between the late 1980s and mid-90s. During this period, the Tyrant Project team projected that only 1 in 10 million people were statistically capable of mutating into the Tyrant, owing, to a rare genetic trait. Now, the Tyrant production was stalled until the development of the more powerful E strain in 1998. Though Umbrella made several attempts to work around this problem, such as the cloning of the Bandersnatches, as well as the cloning of, Colonel Sergil Vladimir to increase the number of test subjects. Now, by May of 1998, the Arklay Laboratory was already in possession of 2 Tyrants, the T-002 and the T-011. When the E strand leaked across the mansion, cloned embryos of the T-002 were successfully evacuated to save the project. Now, these resulted in the creation of the T-103 series. This mass-produced species of clones came in several varieties as Umbrella's research continued and later served as the basis of the third-party Tyrants, such as those used by President Bolokov. Now, we're going to get into the characteristics of the Tyrant, and then we're going to tell you what a super Tyrant is. Now, the characteristics of a Tyrant are, their increased height, and while zombies also mutate due to renewed hormone production, Tyrants grow to be more radical in various proportions, from over 7 to as high as 12 feet tall, with improvements to the muscle structure. Some models of Tyrants have been seen reaching high speeds or possessing the strength to flip over a tank. Now, mutations in the arms to create claws are not that uncommon. One characteristic of the Tyrant, which is not genetically, is the possession of a second or third heart. During the creation of the T-002, the Arklay team saw it fit to graft a large animal heart onto his right chest in a major surgical operation. Other Tyrants have been seen with such hearts, which may indicate that surgery on clones is the standard procedure. Now, the Super Tyrant. A Super Tyrant or Tyrant Reborn is the product of a Tyrant bypassing its power limiter, a device developed by Umbrella that prevents a Tyrant from experiencing out-of-control mutations. Usually this only happens when a Tyrant suffers significant damage and results in the Tyrant in question gaining more muscle mass as well as claws. Super Tyrants are noticeably more difficult to dispatch than regular Tyrants. The Super Tyrant also loses the capacity to follow any orders that were given. Instead of, it deteriorates into a berserker-like state. Now, as I was telling you earlier, there's so many models of the Tyrant. You have, the T1, the T2, the 091, the T11, the Bandersnatch, of course, then that was just like, the experimental Tyrants. Then like the mass-produced models, there's so many. You got like the TG, you had the Nemesis, which was the Nemesis T-type. You got the Tyrant R, Ivan, Talos. There's so many. Now, like I said, the Tyrant is a pretty cool creature from Resident Evil, because it's been present in, I think, every game and a bunch of like the animated movies and stuff like that. But it's pretty cool to realize like the whole backstory of where, I guess, the very first Tyrant came from, and then just experiments and mutations and things like that kept making it, develop more and more and more. In a big comparison you can tell is from the Tyrant from the very first Resident Evil to the Tyrant from Resident Evil 2, because he was more like, developed. And as you would battle him throughout the games, each time you encountered him, you'd kill him somewhat, but then he would just come back. He would mutate into something twice as normal size, and he just kept getting, I guess, more and more out of control. Because in his original form, he was originally dropped off, into town to dispatch of, the remaining STARS members and things like that. And your character happens to find him, and he looks kind of normal. I mean, I guess in a different weird perspective he is. But then I was saying, he just keeps getting, like the more you damage him, the more he mutates. And it's just pretty cool that, these characters and things like this have such a massive, they got backstories and things like that. But everyone, I hope you enjoyed learning about how the Tyrant, how it was developed, and kind of where it came from. If you enjoyed the video, drop it a like, it means a lot, and what was your take on the Tyrant in the games and the movies and stuff like that? Let me know down below if you want to. And thank you, and I will see you later.